Welcome everyone to the 6th round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon. Fuck. And my co-host Eddie Mercado, who gets to, enjoy that. I don't know what the fuck that was, but my mic fell over. Excuse me. We are here after this amazing UFC 214 card, and I gotta say right off before we dive into this, my camera's been going a little wonky here for a minute, so if my video cuts out or something goes weird and Eddie has to carry us, then I apologize wholeheartedly. Anyway, back to this fight card. Jon Jones just beat Daniel Cormier the second time, and I don't know about you, but that just ripped my fucking heart out. I'm fine with Jon Jones being champ. I don't mind. I'm not hating on the guy, but man, that was brutal.
It was I didn't mind. I thought it was awesome, actually.
It was an awesome fight. It was an incredible fight, but DC was fighting the perfect fight against Jon Jones.
It just really seems like the real world outcome. Like if it were a movie, DC would have won this hands down. But in the real world, Jon Jones is the fucking man. Bottom line. He is the baddest man on the planet.
I know. But and then you see DC is just crushed, sobbing. And
crying. He was ugly crying.
He was ugly crying, and I feel so bad for him. And Jones was even I think probably what's going to make it even worse is that Jones was more humble and kinder and more overcome by the moment than any time in his career. He just seemed really wanting to make the best of this moment. And that's got to be that much worse for DC, who really wants to have a reason to keep hating this dude.
Yeah, I'm so proud of Jon Jones, though. It really shows his growth, and he won the crowd over. He came in getting booed hardcore, and he left, on top of the world.
Well, that's the classic glory days Jon Jones thing to do. Is that he comes into the fight, and everybody's like, oh, he's so arrogant, he's so fake, he's such a bastard. And then he puts on the kind of fight where by the end of it, everybody's just like, oh my God, I can't believe Jon Jones is the greatest fighter ever. So that's classic Jon Jones, and credit to him for it. That was a hell of a fight.
He's the greatest fighter ever.
He's so very well be. Does that make up in your mind for Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It definitely does, because this is really why I was here.
Yeah.
The Maia Woodley fight could have not even happened, and it, whatever. The Jon Jones DC lived up to everything I wanted it to be.
I think the thing that really makes it the Maia Woodley thing okay is that it was such a cooler that because you bought the pay-per-view, you're not gonna walk out on the pay-per-view before Jones Cormier, so you bought you're sitting through this fight, you're like, oh, fuck, this just sucks. And then DC Jones is the best version of that fight it could possibly have been.
Yeah, Woodley is just really capable of putting on those kind of performances.
Yeah, I'm shocked that he put that performance on against Maia, frankly.
Just hyper conservative and just
Maia didn't offer him anything. I almost gave Woodley a 10-8 round 2 because Maia got so little done and he dropped Maia. And it was just every round Maia got absolutely nothing done, had no competitive edge for Woodley at all, never came close on a takedown, never hurt him with anything. And Woodley had no desire to make that fight his at all. He was just, it's the sort of, I think somebody put it out that, it's a fight like that really exemplifies the idea what's wrong with scoring, in that you start out with the maximum number of points and then lose them for taking risks. And Woodley takes full advantage of that idea.
Okay.
Starts every round out with 10 points, and the only way he loses points is by taking a risk.
Yeah, and it worked. I mean, it gets him through fights. It wins him rounds. But like Maia was nowhere close at any single moment to winning that fight
No,
or finishing that fight. Like not even remotely close.
no.
And that was the thing for me, at least. It was, you know, who, how could Maia out grapple Woodley? Like,
Yeah.
what was the evidence there that he could actually, you know, dominate him in a way that's actually scoring at the same time? And I just couldn't see it.
No.
And the sheer power of Woodley alone is cause for Maia to just be super, you know, aware that, hey, I can't just wade in here crazy throwing strikes. You know, usually jiu-jitsu guys can just come in throwing whatever because they don't care if they get taken down or whatnot. But you can't do that when the guy packs such a wallop.
Yeah,
So,
I will agree though on one point with like the Cruz and Rogan commentary during that, which was especially Cruz was saying, this is like, why doesn't Maia just throw head kicks? Like, why not try it? Because you're not scared about getting taken down as a counter to it. But he threw one super late in that fight when he had already totally lost it, and he didn't do anything to try and press the idea that like he had anything other than a boxing game that was worse than Woodley's to offer Woodley.
yeah, it was bad. And that's the downfall of being a specialist is you're not sharp in those other areas. And when your one specialty gets shut down, what do you have left to fall back on? And in this case, it wasn't very much.
No, that was an ugly, terrible fight. But it, like I say, it's a cooler for Jones Cormier, which, you know, I want to get back to that real quick because it deserves a little more attention.
Yeah.
Cormier, I was shocked. I did not think he could go out and I did not think he would ever be willing to go out and just sit at range and try and pick off a kickboxing match with Jon Jones. And he did. Like, it was super impressive. He was way more functional and way more competitive with Jones than he was the first time around. I scored the first 2 rounds for him, even for landing the harder, bigger shots. But I mean, Jones, like he handily outstruck Jones in headshots. He ate a lot of like the Jones knee kicks and leg kicks, but he, you know, when they showed round 3 starting, he was up like 38-19 on head strikes against Jones.
Yeah, I definitely gave DC that second round.
Yeah.
In the first round, I can actually hear myself in your microphone.
Oh, I'll turn it down.
But yeah, in the first round, I feel like Jones's volume was just a little too much for me to not give him the round. And I mean, all those leg kicks and stuff, that was really setting up that head kick late.
Yeah,
that was really sweet how he played him. Like that was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, you know, when Connor and I were talking about this fight pre-fight, and it's that idea, like, when, you know, Jon Jones as a fighter, all he's doing is thinking, like, what's nasty little things I can do to you early that's going to set you up for something even worse down the line. Like, he has that mentality. It's just like, how can I make you miserable now and then it'll make you really miserable later? Always little games, always thinking about how to get after people. And in this case, it was brilliant strategic setup to just peck away at DC's legs, get him thinking about that a lot. Because in round 2, that was one thing that in round 2, he really got Cormier thinking about leg kicks a lot. Like, he started picking at him with those front kicks and with body kicks, and just had DC really uncomfortable for a stretch there. And that head kick, DC was leaned right into it.
Yeah, he got played, man. It was cool though. It was like it was top shelf shit right there. That is top shelf.
And credit to Jones on that side too. His range striking game looked better than it ever has. He looked, you know, people who are talking about worrying about his ring rust or anything like that, his punches were way cleaner than they've ever been at any time in his career. And
I don't recall him throwing a single spinning attack.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember the last time that actually happened.
Yeah, he's gotten away from a lot of the crazy stuff to stuff that's just more functional. I wonder if this is actually what we're seeing here as the product of Jones spending a year working with Brandon Gibson and working on really moving it to more striking fundamentals away from the Jackson Wink sort of throw out a random crazy thing.
Which I feel is very smart if you're going to be moving up to heavyweight.
Yeah.
And he called out Brock Lesnar officially on the microphone, and that's huge. And I really hope that happens. That would be so amazing.
I would love to see the UFC make that. I don't even care if Brock's taking time off or any steroid shit or any shit about John Jones. If you can make that fight happen, I'll pay for it. I'll watch it. and if you make that fight happen, do you then whoever wins, like they have way more juice for a title shot than anyone else at heavyweight?
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
So
Jones could get fast-tracked to the heavyweight title. That would be awesome. Man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting.
I know.
And I really hope the UFC goes after that because they really dropped the ball with promoting this. And I get it, not wanting, after John Jones is untrustworthy, you don't want to dump a bunch of promotional money into advertising for him. But I get sad when I ask people and I say, hey, John Jones is fighting tonight. And they go, who is John Jones? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like the baddest man on the planet, and you don't know who he is? Someone's failing here. Like, who's UFC the promoter?
Still has that niche gulf to cross that it's really hard to understand. That like when you find people who would never know, who don't even know what shape the UFC cage is, talking to you about Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, or talking to you about Ronda Rousey suddenly. And then, they don't know who John Jones is. They don't know who GSP is. They have no idea who anybody else in the sport is. You realize how massive the publicity gulf is between, like, being a good, big UFC star and then being Ronda Rousey, being Conor McGregor.
Yeah, and that's a problem that I'm real curious how the WME is going to address.
Yeah,
because that's like their bread and butter, allegedly. So
I'll be interested to see how this pay-per-view does, because it doesn't have either of their huge headliners, but it's also the kind of pay-per-view that traditionally would be like 800,000, 900,000, maybe somewhere close to 1 million. Do they? And in a year that's been terrible for them, they really need it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and especially with. People could be just saving up. A lot of people just saving up for the Mayweather, fight. Because a lot of people are fickle about their MMA. Like they're not all like batshit crazy like us who are in for every pay-per-view.
All right, further down the card, Chris Cyborg, Tanya Evinger, Dana White having to put a belt around Chris Cyborg's waist. Beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. Fight
was a completely one-sided beating.
Yeah, it was definitely one-sided beating, but credit to Evinger. She's definitely tough as they come, and she hung in there, and she did her very best. Cyborg is just on a completely different level from everybody else. And what a story.
Probably, that's like the best fight Cyborg has had since Marlos Conan.
Yeah, which is crazy.
The hardest.
Completely lopsided.
And yeah, I honestly scored both first two rounds 10-8. People were like, they were so hung up on Tanya Evinger being tough. It's like you realize she's literally just eating power shots every minute of every round, and we're all just being amazed she's staying on her feet, right?
Well, she did get a brief takedown there in the first round.
She got a brief takedown that resulted in 0 offense. 0.
That's true, but it is offense in and of itself. So for that, I did 10-9.
It's like a baseball bat and somebody on the other side with a wiffle bat, and you're like, nah, the wiffle bat's getting its licks in.
That's very fair. That's very fair. But I mean, what do you expect? It's fucking Cyborg. Minus 1,100 odds, and she delivered.
Yep. People keep, in the commentary booth, they're talking about like, Evinger's just going to try and like wait until Cyborg wears down, gets frustrated, all that. It's like, have you ever seen Cyborg tired or frustrated in a fight? Ever? No.
Nope, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
She's a completely different class. And who's going to fight her? Who's ducked more than Cyborg?
Nobody. There is not one fighter in MMA where a champion has vacated a belt rather than fight them, other than Chris Cyborg.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
Probably the next bout up is Kat Zingano.
Okay, that's what's up.
Because Zingano's crazy enough. She wants the fight, and I don't think anybody else wants the fight.
Real rap.
Yeah. So,
I would love to see her fight Ronda Rousey, but that probably will never happen. But that's still my...
No, that will never happen.
It's still what I want to see, though.
The other option would be if the UFC can throw enough money at Holly Holm to make it happen. But I honestly think they would have to throw more money at Holly Holm than they would be willing to throw at Holly Holm. Like, when Holly Holm was up at going up to 145 to fight Jermaine Durandamy, and people asked her about Chris Cyborg, there was a very clear I don't know what's coming next. I don't know what I'll do. I might, I'm interested. I'm not looking too far ahead. I'm not looking past Jermaine Durandamy when asked about fighting Cyborg. And then when asked about going down to 135 and fighting people there, she's like, yeah, I might do that. Those were her two options.
It's a common theme. It's a common theme. Nobody wants a piece of that action, and I honestly don't blame them. Amanda
Nunes has just said flat out, no, I'm not going up to 145 to fight her.
Which is a smart career move. Stay at 130, stay at top at 135, where it's safe.
So it's just going to be about who the UFC can find that's crazy enough or that they can pay enough, and it's going to be interesting to see how much they're willing to pay to see people fight Chris Cyborg.
And that might be the thing it might be a situation where it gets to where they just start bringing in people that the UFC fans haven't seen before.
That's what they've been doing so far. Megan Anderson's also out there and wants to fight. So that is the nice thing about this Tanya Evinger fight, is that I would guess for a lot of fighters, this probably made them feel better about the idea of fighting Cyborg, because Evinger is so tough that she was able to survive a few rounds. They're like, oh, I see holes in Cyborg's game, because you hear that from Evinger, you hear that from Zingano, you hear that from these crazy fighters who want this fight. And so this is going to get them a little more interested in it, even though it really shouldn't at all.
Until they watch it again and realize that Cyborg was just actually being super patient and calculated and methodical and wasn't just going beast mode. She was really cerebral out there.
Yeah. She picked every single one of her shots, just took every opportunity Evinger gave her, didn't put herself out for anything, and just turned it into a slow beating until Evinger was broken.
Yeah, it was what it should have been.
Yeah. So before that, Robbie Lawler, Donald Cerrone. Man, I wish that fight was 5 rounds.
Yeah.
That fight was so fucking good.
That should be the main event of some other UFC. Sticking it here, I get it, but damn it, they really deserved 5 rounds.
That was such a good fight.
And incomplete.
Yeah.
It was so incomplete that I scored it a draw.
At the time watching live, I initially scored it for Cerrone because I thought he had outlanded and outworked Lawler in the 3rd round, even though Lawler landed the obviously harder shots. But then I saw the numbers, and by the numbers, it was pretty much exactly the same in round 3. So I was very happy to score that round for Lawler. Based on that, I'm gonna miss punches as I'm tweeting constantly as rounds go by, so I'm not gonna see everything.
Right.
Either way, that is the best possible version of that fight that I could want. All I want is more of it, because you got 2 guys who are typically slow starters. Robbie Lawler immediately uses that to his advantage, just blitz the shit out of Donald Cerrone. And he came damn close. I was shocked Cerrone survived that.
Cerrone did really well at weathering the storm. Better than he should have. Better than expected, for sure.
Way better. And then the thing is that, Cerrone, given more time, he gets really comfortable. He's like Jones in that way that he sets up plans. He picks people off. He makes people tricks people into things, gets them looking for stuff. And Lawler, pretty smartly for how he fought round 1, just took the whole of round 2 off.
And that's why I gave Cerrone the 10-8 in the second round, because I think Lawler had 3 strikes in that second round.
It's true. And normally I would. I think the only reason I didn't there is just because Lawler was very clearly taking the round off and didn't get hit with anything too hard. But I know.
You take the round off, you deserve
to take it off. You know, it's fair. It could be a 10-8. But, you know, so Lawler takes the round off, and that gave Cerrone all the time he needed to get and set up all of his offense. And it also, like, Lawler typically as a slow starter has been all about, you know, unlike Cerrone, who likes to build offense off of offense, who likes to set up things off of other things he's done early, Lawler's all about getting fight reads and getting information from his opponent and figuring out where the holes are in their style, what are the opportunities they open up, and then attacking those later. And so that third round is just all Robbie Lawler looking for these perfect openings, and all Cerrone setting up these combos he started early he built early in the fight. And that third round was just amazing for that. Like, how can you not love that?
Yeah, it was awesome. It will probably win Fight of the Night.
I hope so. I mean,
I really was hoping it was going to get scored a draw just so they do it again.
I hope they do it again sometime. It was just such a cool fight.
Yeah, it was like one of those dream fights where I couldn't believe it was happening. Like, even though they were like standing across from each other, I was just like wiping my eyes. Like, is this happening? Is this for real? And they delivered.
And I love that they both got chances to do what they do. Like, you know, I feel Cerrone and Lawler have both been cracked. They've both been knocked out. There was worry. They both have big flaws in each other's styles. Lawler does not handle kicks that well. Cerrone does not handle body punching and boxing that well, especially southpaw boxing. And there were major gaps in each other's styles, but they both got like every opportunity to exploit all of those parts of that fight. And it was just amazing. I can't.
And they also got an excellent chance to prove that they still have some durability.
Yeah.
I thought that was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, Lawler looking every bit like championship caliber Robbie Lawler. I can't. My heart skips a beat for that. I'm not a bigger. There's no fan no fighter I'm a bigger fan of than Robbie Lawler in prime form. So
yeah, hopefully sets him up for a big fight.
Yeah. Before that, Volkan Oezdemir, Jimmy Manuwa. Man, this is just. What the fuck?
I thought Oezdemir was going to win this.
Okay, whatever. I don't need to hear it.
I thought he was going to catch him with the slop. Like, man.
It wasn't the slop, though. It was just Manuwa got sleepy in the clinch. He pushed Oezdemir into the clinch and just, I mean, I guess it would be that confidence Manuwa has that he's always in complete control in the cage, because he got to the clinch and then he just rested there. He was just like, okay, I'm just going to try and like open up a big chance for probably for some power knees, because that's really where Manuwa likes to go in the clinch. And just did not pay any attention to anything Oezdemir was doing. And that was your whole fight. Like, your entire fight is Manuwa gets clinched, does not pay attention to anything Oezdemir is doing, and gets slept.
Yeah,
I can't fucking believe it.
He fucked up, man.
He did. I mean,
he screwed the pooch.
And with DC now 0-2 against John Jones, Volkan Oezdemir, like, I know Jones is talking Brock Lesnar, but there's no guarantee. Like, that's a fantasy. That's a fantasy I would love to indulge. That's something I hope happens. Otherwise, does Volkan Oezdemir get next?
I don't see why not. Well, there's Gustafsson. He's still out there.
He's out there.
Interesting. Like, who does not want to see Jones Gus 2?
Jones Gus 2 is out there. So Gustafsson probably has next, just based on the long-lived desire to see that. But Oezdemir is paving a much more interesting path through light heavyweight than Gustafsson is right now.
They might even pin them against each other and let Jones take the winner.
Yeah, that would be dumb. They only have these 2 title challengers.
Yeah, I don't know. But leapfrogging over Gus is a tall order.
It's a tall order, but if Gus gets injured, if he can't take that fight, Oezdemir is the only other dude that's in any kind of position for a title fight right now.
And that's crazy because we had no idea who the fuck this guy was. Like,
I know.
Just over a year ago. So
it's amazing, and I don't even know what to say about it. It's so weird. I mean, I knew going in that Manuwa could be beaten. Like, this is a great path for Oezdemir to get to a title. He opens up against a experienced but really sloppy veteran in OSP, and then he gets an inexperienced but technical prospect in Misha Cirkunov, and then he gets a really one-dimensional athletic powerhouse in Jimmy Manuwa. And like, if you're gonna get big moments and big successes, like, that's a great way to get them, but it's still just amazingly improbable.
It's insane. Like, you go from a split decision win over OSP to a 28-second knockout of Misha Cirkunov and then a 22-second knockout of Jimmy Manuwa. What?
Yeah.
That makes absolutely no sense.
So it was an amazing way to open the pay-per-view, though, and just one of those jaw-dropping moments.
It's a Cinderella story. It really is.
Yeah. If he fights John Jones, do you bet against Volkan Oezdemir?
Fuck yes. You don't bet against John Jones. That's silly. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's against Brock Lesnar. Like, you're not betting against John Jones.
Fair. All right. Before that, Ricardo Lamas, Jason Knight.
Oh, man.
Jason Knight was not ready for Ricardo Lamas.
He thought he was.
Fans thought he was. Jason Knight was a favorite over Ricardo Lamas.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where it's like, y'all must have forgot how many fights Ricardo Lamas has won.
Yeah, Lamas, it was a sunning. It was like someone fighting their dad.
Mm-hmm.
Once that fight got back to its feet, it was a wrap. Out came the bolos, and Knight is, tough, and I would have been okay if that was a standing TKO at some points. Like,
yeah.
He was eating some serious shots and just flush, not even blocking, but he would like swing back. So it's like, well, he's obviously still in it. So you got to give the guy a chance. So I thought the referee did an excellent job of stopping it when he did. Once he saw that Knight was just completely shelling up and like, okay, I don't want any more, he was right there to stop it. So that was excellent officiating. And, maybe Knight will learn a little lesson here. It was maybe a little too much too soon for the kid. He kind of had a quick uprise, He's
got to learn the defensive lesson, the lesson that you can't actually just assume that your opponent doesn't have any ability to hurt you, which is how Knight has been fighting. He's like, oh, I'll give up the takedown. What are you going to do in my guard, huh? Oh, I'll let you punch me. I'll come at you with my chin up and my hands down. What are you going to do, hit me? And Ricardo Lamas is like, shit, yeah.
All day. Dude, he was landing flush bolos.
Like, yeah, and the crazy thing was, you look at the replay, because I thought, it was like Knight throwing back a little, and I thought, he might even landed a couple, and then you see the replay in slow motion, and it's just Ricardo Lamas like slipping every single thing coming back, and he was getting a little tired because he was hitting Knight with everything, but Knight didn't even land like one clean punch in all of those flurries that Lamas threw.
It's what the number 3 guy should do to the number 15 guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the gap should be.
Yep. I that's what I was saying too before this fight is, if Jason Knight wins this, he deserves a title shot. Like, throw him into title contention, because Ricardo Lamas has absolutely earned and locked down the number 3 spot in that division. Like, he is there for an incredibly good reason. And that's it.
Yeah, and he's just kind of now the gatekeeper to the top 3.
Yep.
I mean, where does he go from here?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that there's not really a lot of reason for him to fight Max Holloway again.
Nah,
So,
not even close.
the place for him to go would be another fight with Jose Aldo.
Or just another gatekeeper fight and
Yeah.
let him build up another win.
Has he fought Frankie Edgar yet?
Mm-mm.
That could happen at some point.
Man.
I mean, he's got to fight big fights. Like, you might as well at some point. Like, Edgar's not in title contention. Well,
Yeah.
Edgar might get the next title shot. I shouldn't say Edgar's not.
Yeah, I think Edgar should be going that way.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the thing. Maybe Lamas should just, fight another up-and-comer that's trying to make a run.
But so if Edgar loses to Holloway or, whatever, I'd love to see Edgar versus Lamas at some point.
Or what about Cub Swanson and Lamas?
A Cub Swanson rematch?
Did they already fight?
I'm pretty sure. Yep. Lamas choked him out in 2011.
Okay, so yeah, they're due for a rematch. That would be cool.
That would be a good thing to do right now because Swanson is almost certainly not getting a shot at Max Holloway.
Oh, fuck no. He should.
Cub Swanson got pantsed by Max Holloway.
Yeah. Not only that, but he also got pantsed by Frankie Edgar. So leapfrogging him is asinine.
So Holloway versus Swanson in the near future or Holloway versus Swanson versus Lamas. Never mind. Whatever. You know what I mean. It's late.
Yes.
All right. Before that, Aljamain Sterling beats Renan Barao, as foretold by me.
You pick Aljo here?
I picked Aljo here. Here's the thing with Renan Barao that I saw going into this fight and that showed up in this fight is that it's not even that Renan Barao is no longer as durable as he was. He's still pretty durable. It's that he knows he's not as durable as he was. And when he starts to get hurt a little, his game has to change entirely. And he doesn't really have a secondary strategy for how to fight once that happens. Like he's been trying to find a new way to win fights out now that he knows he can be knocked out. And he's not finding it. And it's it was like looking at his past couple fights and looking at like his fight he had against what's his name? Anderson Silva, Philip Nover. Looking at his fight against Philip Nover, it's like, would Renan Barao have clearly won that fight against Philip Nover if he couldn't have taken Nover down? He got takedowns in the second and third to seal it.
No, probably not.
And if out wrestling an opponent is like his key to victory, people are like, oh well, Aljamain Sterling, can he take Renan Barao down? I was like, well, can Renan Barao take Aljamain Sterling down? If Aljamain Sterling is outboxing him, can Barao get takedowns to change the course of the fight? No, he couldn't.
No, he did find top position there in the first round.
Yeah, Aljo threw some silly shit like he likes to and slipped, and Barao was all over him for a round, but he didn't do any damage. And somebody even gave him that round. Somebody gave Aljo that first round.
I didn't, but yeah.
No, I didn't either. I think that's crazy, but
yeah, Barao, he just has one of those styles that just never seems really well put together.
Well, it was that, the big things he would do is that he would bait you with leg kicks from the outside, make you stay way outside, and then if you rushed him, he would fight back and throw counter hooks really hard to scare you off and then set you up for his own clinch offense and takedowns. Or he'd set you up at long range, and then he'd come after you with a blitzing flurry to set up his clinch offenses, clinch takedowns. Either way, it was really kind of predicated on him being able to survive flurries where he took a few shots and landed some hard shots, and he would hit harder, he would land better. And now that he knows he can't take those shots, he can't fight that way anymore. And now that he can't fight that way anymore, he doesn't really have a game plan.
Man, that's not going to serve him well at the top 15.
No.
That sucks for him, man.
It does.
I think that first TJ fight really did him in.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like I say, getting shown that you can't take every bit of punishment out there for his style, it just kind of broke it. And it may even be making him panic a little, which is also maybe making him less, more prone to gassing because he's panicking a little. And some people have also said too, Claudia Gadella talked a lot about leaving Novo out because they overtrain.
Yeah.
They could be wearing dudes out, running through them. I mean, you're seeing Hanan Barao and Jose Aldo both hitting declines at like 30.
Yeah, but Aldo had a really full career.
He did, and so did Barao. I mean, these guys have both had really long, full careers. In truth, too, it could be some overtraining. It could also just be that, for Hanan Barao, this is his 40th fight by age 30. Starting in 2005, 12-year career, like that's just a full MMA career. His body can just be chewed up from 12 years and 40 fights of fighting.
Yeah, and I mean, and maybe it's just him knowing that, hey, I got a lot of miles on me. I can't be out here eating all these shots.
Yeah.
And, this is a young man's game. It really is. And Aljo showed up. How about him, man? He actually landed an up kick there in the third that actually rocked Barao.
The thing is that he's really he's starting to actually find the confidence in his boxing, that he can sit on a few punches, that he can stay in the pocket, that he doesn't need to just wing these ugly, huge hooks, like ducking down low like he used to. He's actually starting to create something with his hands, and it's making the rest of his game a lot more functional because it makes him have to be less reliant on just weird kicks from way outside and then wrestling.
Yeah, he still doesn't have a killer instinct, though.
No.
Like, he doesn't know what to do when he hurts his opponent. And that kind of sucks.
But he's winning. He's getting big wins.
That's the key thing. Big win for him.
All right, before that, Brian Ortega, Renato Moicano. This was a fucking fight, and I am shocked. I am shocked that this fight went the way it did. Ortega made a massive leap in his pressure striking from his last fight. Like, he was getting outboxed by Clay Guida in his last bout.
Yeah, he definitely was. Man, and Ortega showed up, dude.
He has shown, I think it's one of those things where, talking about this in terms of Barao as well, like, Ortega right now does not think he can be hurt. He cannot be hurt. He knows that his chin is just going to put him through everything.
Not just his chin. He has that BJ Penn skin where, he doesn't bruise, he doesn't bleed. It's like you don't even hit him. It's insane. Yep. It's absolutely insane.
And that confidence in his durability is really, really giving him the ability to focus on sharpening his offense because he's not worried about what's coming back at him. And to his credit.
And I'm sorry, but to add to that, his fact that he's a fucking wizard off his back, so who cares if he gets taken down?
Yeah. No, he's a wizard off his back, so he's not worried about takedowns. He's incredibly confident in his chin. And then the other thing is that to go with it, he eats a lot of shots because he creates so much offense. But it's not like he's a bad defensive fighter out there. What he's turning into, he was doing a lot of slipping and rolling, a lot of catching shots on his hands, quick hand guard movement. And Moicano hit him with a lot of stuff, landed a lot of stuff clean, but landed a lot less clean than it looked like he was landing. Moicano threw a lot of shots that hit Ortega in the gloves, that just glanced off a shoulder, that glanced off a cheek, that didn't hit nearly as flush as he wanted. And I am really impressed at the fighter Ortega's turning into, because the dude that fought Clay Guida I thought would get chewed up by the top 10 of featherweight. And this guy looks like he's on his way towards being a fun title contender.
Yeah, he's dangerous. He's just a dangerous fighter. And he was really busting up Moicano. His nose, he was really wearing it. Even though I felt like Moicano was landing the better shots, he definitely looked more worse for the wear.
Ortega's got power. He's part of that confidence he has is that he sits down in front of people and he's willing to throw. And you know, he has these tough weight cuts, but it shows up in the cage too. He looked like a half person thicker than Renato Moicano in there.
Yeah, and how about Renato Matt Mitrione Moicano showing up in the 3rd round? You shot in on Brian Ortega. You know, for the betting preview, I was like, Brian Ortega by submission at plus 500. That's like that's a sports gambler's dream right there. You know what I mean? Like that's just. And sure as shit, he shot in on Ortega, and it got.
Moicano, to his credit, is a jiu-jitsu black belt with constrictor team. I mean, he's never like. This is his first submission loss. This is his first career loss. I bet he thought he couldn't be submitted. He's got an awesome back take game. He's been a confident he's been a confident grappler all his career.
Going in there against Brian Ortega, assuming you can't be submitted, that's ballsy. That's ballsy.
I mean, you know, you kind of gotta look at that, to me, in reference to a guy like Jason Knight, who has also shown up and gotten all sorts of submissions, been an aggressive as fuck grappler, has made a serious march up the division, and then he gets to a guy like Lamas, and Lamas just shuts him down. I mean, Kawajiri did too, but you know, for a lot of guys, you got to wonder about their grappling game as they get to more and more elite fighters. But Ortega's, I mean, he's showing continually that he's really dangerous. And that is going to serve him really well, because most MMA fighters at the higher levels of the sport are pretty confident top grapplers. Like, they've learned to be good defensively. They've learned to be positionally strong. They know how to be on top of people, do damage, hold positions, not get submitted. So we don't see that many guard submissions at the elite level of MMA. And if you are a guy like Ortega who can submit people at an elite level, giving up takedowns, people are going to test that forever. Like, it's going to take another couple of fights. It might take another couple of fights before, or it might be this fight where people finally start to realize, like, I can't be on top of this guy. Like, I can't afford it.
I suppose. I mean, it just, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've had the pleasure of training with him, but like,
sure this
guy just seems like you don't, if you're going to fight Ortega, do it anywhere but on the ground.
But I mean, it's just the metagame of MMA. The way fighters train, the way they all learn, things that they go through in the gym, they all want to be on top of somebody on the ground. Like, you get that opportunity, you don't give it up.
I just don't feel like Moicano was doing that bad on the feet to where he had to shoot in. It just seems so ill-advised, like out of nowhere.
I think he was dead tired. I think he was dead tired, and he was hurt. And I don't think he felt like he was winning the fight. I think there's an argument. I had Ortega winning the first rounds of his UFC career. I thought he was landing cleaner and doing more damage. You know, I think Moicano was landing more, but Ortega was hurting him. And I think by the time it got to the 3rd round, body work especially, he landed some clubbing body shots. And that Moicano was not prepared to defend at all. And I think it just sucked all the energy out of him.
Yeah, and that pressure.
Yeah.
That pressure's smooth and tough to deal with.
And that's why I say, like, seeing what Ortega is becoming now, he looks more like a fighter on his way to contention. Like, you can apply that kind of pressure. You can walk through those kind of shots. You can be active in your defense, and you can land with power and be committed to your striking offense that well, and then be that dangerous on the ground. Like, people are going to struggle to find ways to fight you.
Yeah. And, well, the thing, there's a lot of unsubbable guys there at the top of that division.
Yeah, so they're going to want to try to take him down, see if they can do it.
Yeah, or they might just try to stand with him. Like, I feel like that's what it's going to be. Like, they don't believe that he can stand still. And they're going to try to take him out there.
It'll be interesting to see how he goes going forward, because I think this is a big corner-turning fight for him in going from a prospect that I thought was really overrated to a guy who can make a run.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys who doesn't necessarily take over the fight until it's over. You know, like, and he's doing it late. He's winning
Yeah.
these fights late. He's just getting it done. And I think the main thing for him is if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Because he's coming off that shoulder surgery. So
I
if he
mean,
can
for a
stay
dude
healthy.
that is, people like, oh, he's a young kid coming up. He's 26. He's not that old, but he's also been fighting since 2010. He's been doing this 7 years.
And I mean, he grew up with Henner Gracie, so like he's been grappling his entire life.
Yeah. And he hasn't had that many fights though, so it makes me, it's a little worrying about like his ability to stay active and stay healthy. He's been fighting once or twice a year, every year, which honestly, for a guy like in your early years of your career, most fighters are fighting a lot more than that, especially at lower weight divisions where fights aren't that hard to come by. So.
Yeah, it could be one of those things where, the Gracies, they don't create fighters, they create teachers, and sometimes they just fight to, kind of promote what they're doing.
Yeah. I'll be fascinated to see what he gets next and how it matches up for him, because he's turning into, like, he made big strides for this fight, and it's hard not to expect more things from him in his next fight.
Yeah. Glad to have him back.
For that, Calvin Kattar, Andre Fili. Kattar showing up huge in his debut. This is a breaking down this fight with Connor actually picked Kattar, to his infinite credit.
Wow.
I thought this was actually a pretty bad matchup for Fili, and that Fili's footwork would get him through it. He would use his movement to create more, but he moved a lot and did not create much, and Kattar just took it to him.
Yeah, and I think that was just the composure of Kattar. He was too composed to overreact to any kind of feints or any kind of setups, and Fili had nothing to go on, so there was nothing to hit.
Rogan and Cruz spending a whole round and a half gushing over Fili's southpaw stance body kicks while he landed almost nothing out of that stance was just like, what are you guys doing? Like, you're missing an entire fight that Fili is losing, trying to talk about how interesting it is that he's doing something that isn't working for him.
Yeah, I think they just didn't know what to say about Kattar because it was 2 weeks' notice, so they might not have had any preparation done to talk about him.
Yeah.
But I loved how he was finishing strong. Like he was like he knew how to ice the round, and
yeah,
I think that was huge. That showed that he's UFC caliber material.
Well, he's a big, strong featherweight who's composed and throws with power and works through every minute of the round. Like, he's not, this isn't a dude who's a striker just waiting for his spots. He's tough too. Like, that's a big thing for him. Dude's obviously got a good chin, takes shots well. He's not a great finisher because I think it's like one of those things where he like always fights at a simmer, it seems like, and then he ices the round, and it's never like he's not, when he's landing the power, he's not like rushing to follow it up with a whole lot, but he's just always working for pressuring forward with good, solid striking.
And he's got Mark Delagrati in his corner. I saw him hanging around, and that is a good guy to have in your corner for sure. But yeah, excellent win, and this was kind of a big upset. I think Fili was a reasonable favorite going into this.
Fili was like minus 400. Fili was a favorite to the kind of degree that suggested that like people were just really, had not seen any footage of Kattar at all, and there's not a lot to see. And a little over the moon on Andre Fili for beating Hakran Diaz, who otherwise, Fili against good, well put together strikers has never been any kind of lock.
Which is
even his fight.
That's why I was bummed that we lost Doo-Ho Choi in this, because I feel like Doo-Ho Choi was going to catch a body.
Yeah,
I really did.
It's hard not to see what Kattar was doing and think that Doo-Ho Choi wouldn't have had a home for that laser right hand of his.
Man, Fili's not doing too well, man. He's been alternating wins and losses, and basically since he got into the UFC. So he needs to do something, change something up, and find a way to gain some traction, get some consistency going.
Well, it's a little weird to be like. It's a little weird for him to be a guy who solely relies on Team Alpha Male striking coaching. Like, he's not a wrestler. He's not a he's an okay scrambling grappler and an okay wrestler at times, but he's not out there looking to wrestle or grapple with people. Kickbox, and I mean, Team Alpha Male they do a lot of things well, but the kickboxing gym is not really their strong point.
He seems like one of those guys who's like his personality would just be suited better at like Rufus Sport. I feel like that would be a much better fit for him and just what he really wants to do while he's out there.
Yeah,
like, he's not looking.
But don't send him to Henry Hooft because
no, you know he will destroy his any confidence he might have. Will get absolutely squashed day one. And he will be quitting.
His striking will get better, but then he'll be in fights and like, don't quit, Feely. Andre, don't quit. You're quitting. Don't quit.
Stop losing. You're losing. Don't lose. Yeah, a camp switch up might be good for Feely. But I think a change is needed. Where, I'm not sure, but a change definitely needed.
All right, before that, Alexander Albu, Kylan Curran. It was a fantastic, fun fight. It was sloppy as shit, though. Yeah,
it was. It had casual fans invested, though, so I will say that.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. I didn't not enjoy the fight. It was just completely unstructured mess all the way through.
I had some people who waited to go to 7-Eleven until this fight was over. Like, that's how invested they were in it, just because it was so kind of back and forth and. You know, like
Albu lighting Curran up early and then pulling guard just to like dominated for the second half of that round there was just, oh god,
it was a mess. It was like it's like a one of those like when you go to a bar and they have like the Jello wrestling or oil wrestling things. It was just like a mess. It was just a mess. Just all
it was a mess. It doesn't give me a lot of hype for either woman because Curran, like, I picked Curran based on the kind of fight that it ended up being in the third round, where I figured that her ability to create more offense would do more for her, but her ability to eat a shit ton of head strikes and her continued complete lack of core strength, which has always been the big thing that's sort of been overlooked for her whole career, I think, which is that just she doesn't have the power in her core to work the clinch game that she wants and that she's been training for. So you see her get into these situations where she's like looking for a takedown or looking to muscle somebody around the clinch, and she just gets like tossed aside. Like, just ragdolled like it's nothing. Like, she went for a body lock on Albu, and Albu just like headlocked her and slammed her head into the mat.
Yeah,
she does not have the strength in her core to make those moves happen that she wants to do. And like any fighter that is any more well put together than Kylan Curran will just make her like absolutely tear her apart for the huge gaps she has in her game.
I think she's on her way out. She's lost 5 of her last 6. She's definitely on her way out.
Curran definitely is. The question for is for Albu, who does she beat? Like, who did the UFC throw at her to try and see if she can keep winning fights?
Oh, man. Honestly, anyone. Give her Jamie Moyle. You know?
Yeah.
She seems like a good kind of bar. Like, if you can beat her, you definitely belong. And if you lose to her, you probably don't belong.
Yeah. She needs to be fighting the low end because things like pulling guard at range. She pulled guard at range on, like, throwing 1-2s outside and then suddenly pulls guard. And you're like, you didn't even have a hold of her.
Maybe like Amanda Bobby Cooper. Someone where if you do that, if you give up that top position, they'll exploit it and ride it out for the entire round.
Yeah. She needs to figure out some tool. She has some core gaps in her MMA game that suggest she's not training with the camp that is training in the modern MMA game.
Yeah, that's probably true. And she probably spends a lot of time bodybuilding, honestly. She's shredded.
Yeah. She is. She loves posting her booty workout videos. So, she's got a market for that.
I guess whatever works.
All right, that brings us Jared Brooks, Eric Shelton. Loss for Shelton.
What did I think of this fight? I actually phased out during this fight. This fight didn't do much for me at all. It kind of bored the shit out of me, actually.
It was probably the worst fight on this card, but it wasn't a bad fight. It was just...
Yeah, it was back and forth. It just was really... It was uneventful.
Yeah.
Like, there's no moments that really stand out to me. Like, oh, there was this one moment or this one thing happened. Like, I think it was just a bunch of scrambling back and forth.
Yeah, Shelton had a case to win it. Kind of sucks for him because, some people have said, like, he probably deserved an extra round in his fight with Tim Elliott on Tough when he got a loss there. He lost a really close split decision to Alexander Pantoja in his first UFC fight, and now he loses another close split to Jared Brooks. And it's just kind of like maybe getting to the UFC a little too early. His game isn't quite deep enough. It's not quite developed enough. He took steps forward. He looked better this fight, but Brooks just stayed a little more active, got a little more done. Yeah, I don't know. I would have been fine if Shelton won it, but not a fight I had any problem with either. Like, I didn't, not a decision I really had any problem with. So, best moved on from. For that, Drew Dober, Josh Burkman. Burkman fought harder than he has since his Patrick Cote loss that he got knocked out in, and he got knocked out. So
poor Burkman. I'm surprised he didn't retire. I thought he retired last time he fought and lost.
Yeah, I'm shocked the UFC gave him another fight. I mean,
he's really tight with Dana White. I think they go to the same barber, maybe. Don't quote me on that. But, man, this dude has been on one of the worst losing skids that you can ever imagine. He's getting finished left and right. And this one was extra brutal. He got knocked out, and his head bounced off the canvas, and it was by Drew Dober, who's really known for his Muay Thai, whatever, but he's not really out there knocking fools cold.
Dober has just lately become a finisher with his wins over Josh Burkman. But for a long time, Drew Dober was the Muay Thai striker who had never just about never knocked anyone out. He had gotten knocked out in his debut, and who had otherwise never knocked out anyone and had only won by submission or decision. And it was just, he could put enough hands on people to jump on their back and get a rear naked choke, but he was not a power striker at all. And he's been sitting down on his punches. He's learned enough. I think he's gotten confident enough in the rest of his MMA game to sit down on stuff. And so he's learned to put power behind his shots. But for Burkman, loss, and like I say, I don't know why he got this fight. Prazeres pretty much showed that Burkman had no business being in the UFC, and exclamation point on it.
Yeah, it's sad. I really like Josh Burkman. I've always been a fan of him. He always brings it. But, man, get this dude the fuck out of here, right? Like, it's time. It's definitely time. If you care about him, stop putting him out here. Like, it's becoming dangerous. Like, Drew Dober's knocking you silly. I'm not going to call for his retirement, but I believe he did it himself. Like, last fight, bailed on his retirement.
If he's talking about retiring, and we know he's talking about retiring, then he might actually, start thinking about following through on that plan. Otherwise, back to the main event. Jon Jones is UFC champion again.
I love it, man. I'm a Jon Jones fan.
Oh, yeah, I'm a Jon Jones fan, too. there's nothing better for Jon Jones. There's nothing better for the UFC. There's nothing better for fans than Jon Jones as champion. Jon Jones is champion because you love Jon Jones or you hate Jon Jones, and so you show up. You know, you're invested. You're always going to be invested in every Jon Jones fight, no matter what.
And I'll say this: I love Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson, but you are no longer the pound for pound king. Jon Jones is back at number 1. Hate to say it.
It's
baddest man on the planet.
He has one hell of an argument, and coming back and beating DC the way he did is amazing. Really amazing. On that note, though, it's time for us to sign off. You can find me on Twitter at TheZaneTime. You can find Eddie on Twitter at TheEddieMercado. You can find both of us over at BloodyElbow.com, DOTCOM. Well, I don't need whatever. Not DOTCOM. Just BloodyElbow.com. You know where it is. Give us a like over on YouTube. It's late. I don't care. Thumbs up. That helps a lot. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMANation.com, and that's DOTCOM. That's all spelled out. That's where I get confused. Don't quote me on anything. And subscribe there. That way you get all the latest Bloody Elbow shows, videos, news, analysis, all that good stuff. We'll be back next week with UFC Mexico City. We'll have If I Did It, Care, Don't Care, Vivisection, Heavy Hands, Knuckle Up, all that good stuff over the next week. So stay tuned, everyone, and we will see you soon.